They say love fades with age. That passion cools, that intimacy dies, and that romance is just a chapter of youth. But what if I told you, they're wrong? Dead wrong. Because after 50, love doesn't vanish, it transforms. It becomes deeper, wiser, more powerful than you ever imagined. And in this video, I'm going to show you why falling in love after 50 might be the most honest and life-changing experience of all. If you've ever felt invisible, unwanted, or afraid to open your heart again, stay with me. This is the truth no one talks about. If you care about real connection, hit like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Let's begin. There comes a time in life when the noise begins to fade. The children are grown, the career is no longer the center of everything, and the days feel quieter. In that stillness, many people over 50 find themselves asking a deeply personal question: can I still love? Or perhaps more honestly, does anyone still want to love me? This is not a loud question. It doesn't demand attention. It whispers. It comes late at night, or during a long walk alone. It arrives not from loneliness alone, but from a desire to be seen again, not as a parent, a professional, or a retiree, but as a human being who still feels, still yearns, and still hopes. Middle age brings with it the scars of the past. Maybe a divorce that broke something inside. Maybe the death of a partner that left an empty space too painful to touch. Maybe a long marriage where love became routine, and intimacy slowly faded into silence. So it's easy to believe that love has an expiration date. That romance belongs only to the young. But the truth is more complicated and far more beautiful. Love in middle age does not look like it did in our 20s. It is not filled with dramatic declarations or restless passion. It is quieter, but deeper. It is not about chasing someone or being swept off your feet. It's about being able to sit with another person in silence, and still feel connected. It's about finding someone who doesn't complete you, but who understands the version of you that has grown over decades of joy, failure, grief, and strength. Science tells us that the human brain is still capable of forming strong romantic bonds even after 60. The chemistry of connection, oxytocin, dopamine, and the deep sense of attachment doesn't fade with age. In fact, older adults often experience more emotional satisfaction in relationships, because their love is no longer driven by ego or physical attraction alone. It is driven by kindness, empathy, and the desire to share the time that remains. There is something extraordinary about the way love matures. In youth, love is often about being chosen. In middle age, love is about choosing. It's not about impressing, but about accepting. It's not about projecting perfection, but about revealing your imperfections and being loved not despite them, but through them. Many people resist the idea of loving again because they are afraid. Afraid of getting hurt. Afraid of being rejected. Afraid of starting over. That fear is real, especially for those who have known deep loss. But if you've lived long enough to know pain, you've also lived long enough to understand how precious real connection is. And the truth is, it's never too late to find it. There are countless stories of people who found love again after 50, 60, even 70. Some met through community events, others through shared hobbies, or simply crossing paths when they least expected it. These relationships often start slowly, built not on instant chemistry but on shared values, emotional honesty, and patience. They grow from friendship, from mutual respect, and from the quiet decision to walk alongside someone without trying to change them. And it's not just about emotional fulfillment. Medical professionals have begun to recognize that loving relationships in later life contribute significantly to physical and mental health. Studies show that people in healthy emotional bonds after 50 have lower stress levels, better heart health, stronger immune systems, and improved memory. Love literally keeps the mind and body younger. Not because of fantasy, but because of emotional safety. Yet love after middle age does not mean forgetting the past. It means honoring it and allowing it to make you wiser. It means understanding what love really is, not just romance, but companionship. Not just desire, but devotion. Not just butterflies, but deep peace. To love at this stage of life is to say, I see who you really are, and I want to share what's left of this journey with you. It's a kind of love that doesn't rush. It doesn't need to impress. It doesn't fear wrinkles or gray hair. It simply asks, can we be real with each other, without pretending, without performing? So if you are in your 50s, 60s, or beyond and you feel like love has passed you by, I want to tell you this: love has not forgotten you. It may not arrive in the same form it once did, but that doesn't make it less meaningful. In fact, it might be more real than anything you've known before. You are not too old. You are not too late. You are not invisible. Somewhere in this wide, quiet world, someone else is asking the same question you are. Someone who's not looking for perfection, but for presence. For understanding. For someone to share a Sunday morning or a quiet evening, not with drama, but with warmth. The heart never forgets how to love. It simply waits for the moment when you are ready to believe in it again. Part 2. Why emotional intimacy matters more than physical appearance after 50. In the early stages of our lives, love often begins with appearance. A beautiful smile, the curve of a hip, the way someone moves through a room. These are the sparks that ignite young love. But with age, the focus begins to shift, sometimes slowly, sometimes all at once. And what we once thought was the essence of attraction begins to seem shallow. By the time we reach our 50s or 60s, we've seen enough to understand that appearances fade. Bodies change. Hair turns gray. Skin softens. And the chase after surface-level beauty becomes exhausting. What begins to matter more is not how someone looks but how someone makes you feel when you're with them. This is where emotional intimacy becomes the heart of love after middle age. It's the quiet understanding between two people who have nothing to prove but everything to share. Emotional intimacy means being able to tell your truth without fear. It means sitting beside someone, knowing you don't have to entertain them or impress them, you only have to be yourself. Many people over 50 worry that they're no longer physically desirable. Wrinkles, weight gain, stretch marks, baldness, these things weigh heavily on the mind. But here's a truth we don't hear enough: attraction does not die with age, it evolves. An emotional connection becomes the new kind of beauty. The kind that lasts. We live in a culture that worships youth. Magazines, films, social media, they tell us that love is for the young and attractive. But that story is incomplete. Real love, the kind that sustains through grief, illness, boredom, and the passing of time, requires emotional depth. And emotional intimacy is not born from youth. It is built from experience. One of the greatest gifts of growing older is emotional clarity. You begin to know yourself in ways you didn't before. You recognize your emotional triggers. You've likely had your heart broken and survived. You've made mistakes and learned. And you begin to value conversations that go beyond small talk. You crave emotional safety more than sexual fireworks. This shift is not a loss, it's a liberation. Because emotional intimacy creates the conditions for true connection, not just skin to skin, but soul to soul. Think about the relationships that truly left a mark on your life. Was it because the person had perfect ABS or a stunning jawline? Or was it because they listened when you cried? Because they remembered small things about you that no one else noticed? Because they sat with you in silence when there were no words? That is emotional intimacy. And after 50, it's what most of us are really seeking, even if we don't always know how to say it. But emotional intimacy takes courage. It requires vulnerability. And for many people who have been hurt in past relationships, opening up again can feel dangerous. You may wonder, what if I'm too much, or what if I'm not enough? Here's what you need to know: emotional intimacy doesn't ask you to be perfect. It asks you to be honest. And in that honesty, connection becomes possible. When you stop hiding your fears, your disappointments, your true desires, someone else has the chance to see you clearly. And seeing is the beginning of loving. The strongest relationships between people over 50 are often built not on a spark, but on a safe space. A space where you can say, I'm tired today, or I'm scared about my future, or even I don't have all the answers, and be met with understanding, not judgment. This kind of emotional safety makes physical closeness even richer. When someone feels emotionally connected, touch becomes more meaningful. Intimacy is no longer just about pleasure, it becomes an extension of trust, affection, and mutual care. That's why many older couples report a deeper sense of satisfaction in their physical relationship than they did when they were younger. Because their connection is rooted in emotional truth. For anyone who feels they've missed the chance for love because they no longer fit society's idea of beauty, I want you to remember this: real love does not care about your waistline, your wrinkles, or your wardrobe. It cares about your presence, your compassion, your ability to make someone feel safe in your company. Emotional intimacy is not about finding someone who fixes you. It's about finding someone who accepts you as you are and who invites you to grow alongside them. Someone who says, "I see your history, and I still want to know your future." After 50, love is no longer a performance. It is a choice. A quiet, daily decision to show up with your full self, not just your body, but your story, your spirit, and your scars. And when someone receives that gift with gentleness and grace, it becomes something extraordinary. Something that not even youth can manufacture: emotional truth. And that, more than anything, is what makes love last. You haven't aged out of love. You've grown into a deeper version of it.